Yes, guys, welcome to FPL Insight. I'm Gianni, and we're going to be reviewing the weekend just gone of FPL action, of course, and previewing the FPL action ahead. And I am joined by my co-presenter, Mr. Football Insider himself, Dean Jones. Dean, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm very well. Been a good weekend of football action. I didn't quite get to the dizzy heights of travelling to Portugal to watch what looked like a very exciting game in Porto for you.
It was cool. Friday night, in Porto for Porto v Sporting. Great game, 2-2, 6 red cards. Brilliant. What more could you want?
Yeah, we didn't have any of that really in FPL this weekend.
Nothing. It would have been an FPL nightmare, wouldn't it? Imagine like 4 people getting sent off after the 90 as well. Like, it was ridiculous, to be honest.
Yeah, you'd need more than one free transfer if you had kind of that many players in the bin. I had Dennis the week before in that double game week with the red card. Absolutely still seething from that. Did you?
Me too. Yep. Yeah.
Often so blinkered by the double game week, aren't we? And like this week is a prime example to be talking about single and double game weeks. And obviously we've got a lot of doubles on the horizon.
Yep.
And we're all targeting players with doubles, and rightly so. But in this show today, we're going to be also touching on a couple of players with single game weeks that actually we should definitely have in kind of on our radars. I'm going to be doing an eye test section later, Dean. I'm looking forward to introducing you to a couple of players that I'm kind of thinking of that haven't necessarily all got doubles.
Yeah, I've got a notebook section as well where we're going to run through some, obviously, so people from my background is more on the football news side of things, transfers, player injury news, just a bit of insight on what's going on at the club. So hopefully we can sometimes get a little bit of edge. Look, I've been playing FPL for years. It hasn't always helped me, but sometimes it has. Sometimes it's just nice to like look at an alternative view of things. And I've got a few little nuggets that, well, just be good to discuss, really.
Yeah, before we get into it, Dean, I'm kind of known as like an FPL guy that's like so obsessed with FPL. I'll write book about it. My Twitter account is purely dedicated to FPL. Like spend silly amount of hours kind of prepping my teams. What sort of manager would you sort of say you are?
I'd say I was a good manager before I had kids and a bad manager since I had kids. It's really affected me. Like I've been playing it like since day dot whenever this began.
Yeah.
And I was very good at it, and I would win the league like more often than not. And in the last 4 years I've had children, it hasn't been so good. Not complete disaster. Actually, last season was a disaster. I was in the bottom 3 in our mates league, and if you end up in the bottom 3 in our league, you have to pay the bottom 3 pay for the rest of the guys to all go out for a curry. Nice. So it wasn't ideal, but that was the worst it's ever been. This year's been all over the place. It's been one of the hardest seasons, no doubt. You can't get any momentum, no consistency. There's no logic to it. Well, there wasn't. Maybe now there will be. Maybe now, for this final 3 months of the season or so, there might be some logic involved. But I feel like for the last few months, there hasn't been a lot. And it's really, really hit me.
Yeah, and obviously with all the COVID postponements, some were really late in the day after game week deadlines. We even had, I think it was Spurs Burnley called off because of snow. Again, that was post deadline. I remember having 3 players in that game. So yeah, it seems to be one of those seasons where you just needed the rub of the green. But perhaps we get some of that now for the run-in where maybe second guessing results becomes a little bit easier. Before we get into your team, Dean, just want to know your take on kind of the final 3 months of the season. If your season's not going too well, there's still time to turn it around, right?
Well, there is, yeah, and I think that I've kind of experienced this already myself. I had a bad start to this season, and then I was like, okay, I'm not making informed decisions here. I'm being too emotional. I'm making rash decisions, and I'm not going with form. It's so easy to not follow form if you start struggling in the league. And then you just have to reassess and be like, right, who is playing well right now? Get on them, because you might see a player, even if it's somebody like, say, Mason Mount at some point. It's like Mason Mount starts having a good couple of weeks, and not everyone jumps on it. I certainly haven't always. But then he might go on a run of 6-7 weeks of getting a lot of points. There's just things like that are basics, really, of FPL. And it's just jumping on informed players. And, so I definitely caught up a lot. I was on a really good run. And then, end of November, start of December, I fell away again. So I'm one of those people hoping right now that in the final 3 months I can turn it around. And well, I'm leaning on you basically, mate, because I know that you've got all the insight that I actually need.
Yeah, I'd like to hope so. I don't know if I've had it this season, but yeah, it's all on for me. You find a couple of those differentials, or you give the armband to a player where not everyone else has gone there, and you have, and you can just shoot right up those mini leagues. But yeah, without further ado, we should have a look at your team first, Dean. Let's check out your 11. Lovely stuff. Look at that. Okay, so Dean's 11. For those of you that can see it on screen, brilliant. If not, it's De Gea in goal. Back four of Trippier, Trent, Dean and Rudiger. Martinelli, Jota, Bowen in the midfield. You've got Kane, Calvert-Lewin and Dennis up top. A few flagged players on the bench as well, Dean. I mean, you only need an 11, so it doesn't matter too much. So you kind of Mount can come back in. Hopefully his injury's not too bad. Damari Gray, surely there's going to be goals in that Everton team. But you're starting 11. How are you feeling going into this week? I mean, you've got a couple of flags.
Yeah, I mean, not great to be honest. I mean, last week I used my free hit, so this wasn't my team in the game week just gone. And I regret using my free hit because it didn't go that well. I had 3 Man United players in it. Look, that still might come good, but ultimately I know I'm coming back to this team very soon. There's flags all over the place. I mean, Martinelli, to be honest, I'll leave because I'm confident, like in that Wolves game, he can bounce back and make up for his error. So I'm not too worried about that. Trippier is a massive blow. That's a huge blow to Newcastle, a bigger blow to me, to be honest, because he's one of the few people I think I could depend on in that lineup. This Kane dilemma, really. I'll stick with him, I imagine, for this game week, but every time I turn to him, just doesn't deliver. And it's not very many times in FPL history that there's not a big money striker that you can absolutely rely on. I mean, this season, obviously, we've had Mo Salah for Liverpool in midfield, but there's no Aguero anymore. Lukaku's become unreliable.
Yeah.
Arsenal obviously selling Aubameyang, and he wasn't in form anyway. Lacazette isn't really there. Man United and Ronaldo, he hasn't scored a goal this calendar year. Wolves and Jimenez, he's just got back on the score sheet recently. Tottenham and Kane. Vardy's not really there. There's nobody that you could be like, okay, this guy will definitely get me points. And I can't really remember a time when that's been the case in terms of strikers.
Yeah, I mean, we were all so excited about Ronaldo and Lukaku. It was meant to be so much better for that premium striker spot. I just wildcarded, Dean, and I was looking at it going, do I need to leave a premium spot like up front, or should I just go for 3 budget players? And I ended up like you, sort of going, Harry Kane's going to come good, but I'm starting to think maybe I just need to go sort of mid-price. One player you have got in that kind of in those front spots is Dennis, and I know why he's in your team. He was in many of our teams, and for that double game week, and he did have a bit of form. But now Roy Hodgson's taken over Watford. Are you thinking that's kind of a sell eventually, because they just don't look like they're going to score many goals?
They don't. I'm kind of relying on Ismail Assar coming back in and making a difference and being the kind of like Wilfred Zaha figure of the team. And hopefully Dennis gets on the end of some assists of his. I think that's going to be a big factor in what Watford can do in the rest of their season. So, yeah, this week, obviously, Dennis on a double game week, he's staying. But at the point I brought him in, I was really confident he was about to go on a goal streak, and it hasn't really come true for me. And I know what you're saying there about the strikers and like whether to just save money there and invest the money deeper in the side. I mean, it actually makes more sense to put it elsewhere in the midfield, particularly, especially now there's Jota, that's that equation to factor in with Salah, there's Foden. A lot of the best players are actually forwards that are listed as midfielders, aren't they?
Yeah, exactly that. And you've got quite like a couple of differentials you've got in your team, like Trippier, for example, inspired pick. Two goals in 2 games. Obviously, he's injured now and probably going to have to be a sell with a broken bone in his foot. He's probably going to be out for a long while. One player you don't have, though, you're obviously not too worried about sort of going rogue, because the guy that the world and his dog owns is Mo Salah, and you've gone no Salah. Ahead of Norwich and Leeds? You must be slightly concerned.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I haven't made the transfer here yet, and it's probably the one that I'm factoring in. I mean, if I was to bring Salah in, obviously be most likely that Kane comes out of the lineup, and then it's going to be a cheap forward that comes in. It's going to be difficult to overlook him, isn't it? I think I don't really want to do the same as everybody else because I've got to make up this space, but the big risk would be that I just fall miles behind. And I've made the mistake before of not getting on Salah. The only reason he's not in this team right now is because obviously There was AFCON, and I just haven't brought him back in yet. And I played the free hit last week, so wasn't confident he would score against Burnley, even though he was playing. So, yeah, Norwich and Leeds, it's hard to look past, isn't it? But so that's going to be my big decision of the week, really. Do I stick with Kane against City and Burnley, or do I ditch him and bring in Salah and bring in a cheap forward? I think you can probably guess what I'll end up doing there.
Yeah, let us know in the chat what you think. I mean, Kane and Mount out for Salah and, I don't know, Weghorst in could be a
Yeah,
shout.
something like that it'll be, yeah.
Let us know in the chat. We've got Luke C saying Watford attack is woeful at the moment. He's getting rid of King ASAP. Nuclear Atoms is very pleased to see this new series. Says he hopes it's not just for 1 week. Is it for 1 week? Question mark. No, it's not Nuclear. We're going to be here Mondays and Fridays at 7. Mohammed's made a good point. No Man City assets. There's been a couple of mentions of no Cancelo in there. I guess that's the other big one. Once you've got Salah, but I get it. Your team, you want to differentiate yourself, and by going Cancelo, well, his ownership is sky high. You don't really see rank increases when he does bang. But maybe there's a Laporte or someone in there instead.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had that many City players in. I was lucky I rode the Bernardo Silva wave and I was on him early, so I benefited from that in this season. I was on Foden a couple of times. To be honest, if I was to go with anyone right now, it'd probably be Raheem Sterling. He's on a great run. He's overcome like these early season concerns about not being involved at all, and he looks like being potentially one of the go-to figures. Now, though, we've got the Champions League to balance out with all this. We haven't had that, obviously, for the last 2 or 3 months. And now you've got to weigh up like this Pep roulette problem, which I'm sure we'll talk about more and more as this show goes on. But that's going to be something that comes into the equation. I just find it so tough with Man City not to know who's playing. And it's such a risk to bring in somebody that's costing a lot of money and for them to not play. So I kind of will, with City, basically, I'll weigh it out. I'll see what happens, what kind of Champions League team they put out, and then try and bounce off the back of that and try and get a guess again of where we're heading with Pep.
Yeah, look forward to our Friday chats when we go into detail on Pep Roulette, and do stay tuned for that on Fridays at 7. Let's have a look at my team now, shall we? Here we go. We've got Ramsdale in goal with the double game week. I've also got Foster with the double on the bench. And that's part of my thinking why I might go towards one chip that isn't triple captain. Cancelo, Trent and me, Bowen, Jota, Bruno and Foden. Fortunately, there's a few injuries at Man City, which makes me think Foden's kind of fairly legit. Broja, Weghorst and Kane. Bench of Dean, Elise, Dallo. And I've been building... my squad looks good, Dean, probably because I wildcarded a week ago. So it should look good. But I'm at a bit of a dilemma here. Like the world and his dog are going to triple captain Mo Salah, and I'm clearly bringing Mo Salah in, right? Bruno goes, Salah comes in. Do I bench boost or do I triple captain?
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I mean, because there's always that factor of the bench boost of leaving it late. I mean, I've typically always left it very late to use my bench boost. I mean, I think it's just because you're hoping for that big hit right towards the end of the season that catapults you up there. But because there are so many players potentially with double game weeks this week, it's one to really consider. I can see why you would lose Bruno at this point. Got a double game week this week. If he doesn't score against Brighton, then there's certainly no reason to be keeping him as it stands right now. Although the only thing that's at the back of my mind on Man United is they are creating so many chances. They've had 64 shots in their last 3 games. Like they must be due to beat somebody like 4 or 5-0. I can't see that being Leeds away, but you just never know. Like Man United, they do sometimes throw up some strange results, and the fact they are creating just makes you wonder. But I mean, if you replace Fernandes with Salah, then you shouldn't have too much concern considering he's got a double game week. So, yeah, I mean, the team looks very good, mate. Are you happy with how the season's gone so far, or was this wild card needed?
Yeah, it's gone all right. I was around 30k overall rank, and it's drifted out to about 60k in the last couple of weeks. And my hand was forced with the wild card from just so much dead wood. And part of the problem there was I'd triple Watford, I'd double Watford attack, and as soon as Roy Hodgson took over, I was like, these guys have to go. Yeah. I had a couple of other fringe players that weren't getting game time, like Diop, who's now back in, ironically. But I was just looking at it going, I've got all my other chips. I may as well use my wild card early, because then I can use that wild card and go, I'm getting 17, 18 weeks from this wild card, rather than perhaps 3 or 4 that may be planning on, say, a wild card in 34, 35 will get.
Yeah.
So no, I've got the other chips in the bank. I was happy to go for it and just target the doubles. And it was all with a view really to game week 26, which gives me a fair few doublers. Like I'll probably have 10 or 11, maybe 11 or 12 doublers by the time I sell Bruno. And then I might sell Dallo to another Burnley defender.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're better at forward planning than I am, and I think one of the big mistakes I made was not anticipating what's to come with Chelsea as well, because I've been left over with Mount and Rudiger, and they got blanks all over the place at the moment, and
Yeah.
you obviously haven't got any. So was that? I presume that was on purpose, and that you're very well thought out in that process. But who would
Mate,
you bring in and when?
spreadsheet upon spreadsheet. You should see
Yeah,
it, honestly. So many evenings of just planning my different drafts. But yeah, I'm thinking it's interesting what you say about Chelsea, because there's talk that they might even get a double in game week 28, which isn't too
right.
far away. So those that do have Chelsea now, I probably hold and just hope they get some nice. They've got some good fixtures coming too, and they will be owed some fixtures. So I think you probably hold them. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's a tough one, Dean. What do you reckon to one guy I want to just get your thoughts on is Elise? I watched him in the FA Cup. And obviously, you're a Fulham fan, so you would have watched him a fair amount in the Championship.
yeah,
Championship is one league I do not watch, so I know very
yeah,
little about him. But I'd seen him in the FA Cup against Millwall, recently in the FA Cup too, and I just thought he's going to start. And he started against Norwich, got the assist. He was dropped for Brentford, and Jordan Ayew comes in on that right-hand side, and we know Vieira likes Ayew. But I just feel against weaker opposition, maybe he doesn't play the Chelsea game, he goes with Ayew. But against Watford, I think he gives Elise a run out. He just looks like he's got bags of talent.
yeah, and that's one reason for you to consider, the bench boost, I guess, at the moment, because he's got a double game week, and I imagine he will at least get good time against Watford. He's such a talent; he's one of the most skillful players I've seen, and because you've got Dallo and Dina who will both play, yeah, I can see why that's tempting. I mean, Palace, I'm just not sure what you're getting at the moment from them. Like that early season form and consistency seems to have gone a little bit right now. I'm not sure you're going to see him bags of goals from Crystal Palace, but he's definitely a game changer. And because of that, he's somebody that even if he's not starting, he'll get time. You know that Vieira won't be afraid to throw him in. If he's throwing him in, it's for a reason, to attack. And that's what we want in fantasy. We want players who are going to go for assists and goals. So he could be a nice little differential for sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping Weghorst is fit as well. Dice said he took a knock and now no more in the week. So the Friday press conference is going to be massive, because if he is out, then I'll probably have to sell him, because again, like if you're bench boosting, you want all 15 of your players playing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm veering towards bench boost at the moment, and then maybe triple captains on a double game week player later in the season.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, Weghorst is going to be a good signing for Burnley. He's an upgrade on Chris Wood. There's no doubt about it. He suits Burnley's style of play perfectly. Yeah, if he can shake off that problem, then you definitely want to. If it looks like he's got a chance of playing, I would gamble on him, because they're two perfect fixtures for him, I would imagine. Once he's up and running, I think he'll score a lot of goals. And obviously, there's always that thing at the back of your mind as well, that Burnley have still got so many games left. That's why people should be considering a few Burnley players right now that might bag a lot of points.
Yeah, FPL River in the chat says triple captain Mo Salah is the obvious move, and you're right. Like, when do you get Salah at home to Norwich and Leeds in a double game week?
That is
He says
true.
then he goes, if you do get Tierney in for Dallo, then maybe the bench boost is a better option. And I don't think I can stretch to Tierney, because Salah's price has been rising. It's gone up 0.2 in the last 2 nights. But maybe I could go Dallo to another Burnley defender who's obviously got a double next week as well, the double-double. Luke says Palace were poor at the weekend. Mohammed says he's got Edouard and just can't trust Palace assets at the moment.
Yeah, that's the problem, isn't it? I mean, I'm sure everybody at some point has had Conor Gallagher in their team, and they were riding that for a bit. But at the moment, I think that they're one of the most difficult teams to analyse. Obviously, we haven't had a lot of football recently either, so there hasn't been much form to judge people on, and that's really difficult. I see that a few people now shouting out Brozier, and that's definitely somebody that people should be considering. I mean, I had him in my free hit team last week. I was really confident in Southampton score and just picked the wrong forward. So that was unfortunate, but he's certainly a player that not only has he got a point to prove, like he wants to get back to Chelsea and prove a point to them, or he wants to prove that he's good enough to get a transfer and stay in the Premier League. So there's plenty of reasons to have Brozier in your team, because he's got, a million reasons really to keep scoring goals.
Yeah, exactly that. I'm looking forward to this next section though, Dean, because this is titled DJ's Notebook, and I don't know too much about it, so I'm going to let you introduce it after this next little title sequence.
Okay, mate. So the idea of the notebook section is just to pick up a few things that I've spoken about to people in the game, and just little nuggets that might be helpful. Some of it's reflected in the matches themselves, some of it isn't yet. Just a few things that I've heard from within inside the camps, inside the teams, maybe even just contacts related to the teams, to just give you a little possibility of an edge, and maybe an asset that you weren't considering before. Actually, the first thing that I want to talk about is Tottenham, and this is a bit more broad. And the subject really is the back three, because a lot of people don't like this at Tottenham, and I think a lot of people want to see it changed for various reasons. One, if you're a Tottenham fan, you just don't like it, and secondly, if you're an FPL player, you want to see the assets used differently. But from what I'm told, Conte will continue to use this back three. I mean, it's something that he's relied on heavily throughout his managerial career, right? It's very unlikely that Conte is going to panic at this point and doubt himself, doubt something he's fallen back on his entire career, and change. So for people with Tottenham assets, whether they are midfielders or defenders, I guess, and you're wondering about where they're going to be used, I mean, just look at the recent lineups, because Conte is pretty stubborn. He's pretty set in his ways. And from what I'm told, it's going to take a lot for him to change from playing a back three.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because he's had so much success with it. I remember when he took over Italy ahead of Euro 2016, and again, straight away, it was the three. I remember when he did it at Chelsea before that, came into Chelsea and was playing with the four, and Chelsea were losing to Arsenal, and at half time, he changed it to a three. They weren't going too well. This was like kind of, I don't know, September, October. They went on to win the league that season after they changed that with the three. I wonder, Dean, are the centre-backs good enough at Spurs to play with a two? Obviously, Romero is very good, but Romero played in a three at Atalanta. And I just wonder if he goes, okay, I don't know, I think we're going to ship even more goals with I don't know, Romero and Dyer or Romero and Sanchez.
Yeah, I think he would see it as too much of a risk too. So I would just be cautious of the fact that if you're just keeping players in hope that they play in a different position. I mean, I know we've seen them, the wing backs particularly being difficult to guess, and Sessegnon was pulled early in the last match, and we're wondering who's going to play on the right side. To be honest, just steer away from it right now, because Conte, I think himself, is still experimenting. He wants to find guys that he can rely on in those positions. Reguilon, we're not sure if he's going to be staying. As I say, Sessegnon taken off. And on the right side, they wanted Adama Traore for a reason. They don't like any of the guys they've currently got in there. So steer away from anyone that you think is playing those positions.
Yeah, definitely. I'm glad I sold Reguilon on wildcard. I was a bit nervous about doing it because Spurs had some good sort of fixtures for clean sheets.
Yeah.
No, they're not getting clean sheets. I mean, I didn't see Wolves scoring 2 against them, and they did quite comfortably.
It's a strange one, isn't it? For sure. Right. I want to move on to Everton now, because at Everton, there's a really interesting player that's coming to the fore, and it's somebody that when Frank Lampard took over at Everton, the first thing I wanted to know was, okay, which young player, which player that isn't spoken about a lot is that Lampard going to embrace? Is he going to love? And he's going to start, putting his name up in lights, really. And I was told, look out for Anthony Gordon, because he's the type of player that Lampard likes to embrace. From what he's seen so far, he was very impressed with him. He's a player that he can easily mould, easily coach. And I think we're already starting to see that this guy is a real asset for Everton, and he could be a real asset for everybody playing FPL as well. Now, in their last outing, he was superb, and he was looking to release Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin as soon as he could. He's on corners a lot of the time, so that's something to bear in mind. He looks to get in behind as well. I mean, he's been given real freedom at times and looks to get beyond the last man. Last time out, wasn't quite getting in there, but I think this could be really big under Lampard. It's looking like he's going to be an influential figure that will be used regularly. I'm not saying every single week, but I think he will get a lot of game time. It's only 4.5 million. He's owned by, I think, 0.9% when I checked yesterday. So this is a guy, when we're looking to pad out our midfields, when we're looking to get in a big name player and shift things from the midfield, consider him for sure, because Everton are, they're going to be run on vibes a lot of the time. Lampard vibes. I mean, people doubt his coaching credibilities. But Lampard knows how to get the best out of individuals, and he knows how to motivate people. And I think that this is one of the guys that is really going to thrive under Lampard.
Yeah, Luke in the chat said earlier, surprised none of you guys have got Jacob Ramsey, and you can actually say probably Ramsey alongside Gordon are the two
Yeah.
outstanding 4.5 assets in this game. And I'm with you. Like, I think Gordon's probably the best. He's playing in a front three rather than a midfield three like Ramsey. And I think, as you say, seeing him on set pieces at the weekend, I was like, okay, hello. Like, if we're going to get set pieces out of you as well in a
Well,
team
that's
that we
it.
know is going to score loads of goals, yes, please.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, as I say, I had a free hit last week and I had Ramsey in there. It was Ramsey that I went for that game. So it was just another one where you know that there's some value to be had. And it's just, I guess you've got to stick with it. If it wasn't a free hit, I'd have probably just stuck with Ramsey for now. But those guys certainly got managers that know how to guide them well. The third thing I want to focus on is Liverpool. And I guess you could headline it as Diogo Jota. He's a guy that is in most teams, I guess, at this point. If you haven't had Jota, then you've probably been slipping behind people and you probably are throwing him in right now. He's become part of that traditional front three now. But you know what? Like with the Champions League now coming, I think we're going to have to be a little bit careful because from what I'm hearing, it might be that he's prioritised for the Champions League because he's become such an influential figure in that forward line. It's going to depend on what fixtures are around those Champions League games and whether they feel they even need Jota in the Premier League. So he was on the bench at the weekend, which suggests he will be starting against Inter. And after that, it's Norwich. And I think that Klopp knows, obviously, that Firmino is perfectly capable of playing against Norwich and filling his boots. We've also then got to throw Luis Diaz into this conundrum. And he's going to start getting more starts too as we go by. Liverpool have got Leeds a few days after that Norwich game. Then they've got the EFL Cup final to consider as well. This is a really busy schedule for Liverpool. I think it's becoming more difficult to predict what the front line is actually going to look like. And for the first time, you might even be wondering if Mane and Salah are always going to start. So, like we've always wondered with Man City, who's playing? I think in the next few months, there will be times when we're looking at Liverpool and rather than thinking, oh, it's Norwich, like Salah will definitely score, you might be thinking, oh, will he bring Salah out for that game? Or will he bring Jota out for that game? So I think there's a bit of confusion coming up for people. I don't know what you reckon.
Yeah, like for so long with that Liverpool front three of a couple of years ago with Firmino in it, we kind of just knew it was nailed every single week because the squad depth was so poor.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't think Shaqiri or Origi or the Ox was going to come in and shake things up. But then the Diogo Jota signing last summer, and then of course now like Luis Diaz, there's 3 spots for 5 players. And there is going to be rotation. I think Mane could miss a few. Salah's probably, as you say, like the safest. Of course, Salah's the safest and probably won't miss a game. But the others, we're definitely going to see some rotation. It's interesting that you've gone with like you've heard Jota would be the first choice, arguably over Firmino now. And against Inter, I mean, we'll see. And I'm with you. I think it will be Jota.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I thought it was very interesting from an FPL point of view too, because if that is the case, you could see that Jota's going to have game time taken away from him at some point, and while he won't want that to be happening, you know, Klopp's just going to, as somebody just said in the comments there, well, it's Jason Green now, it says Klopp bingo. I mean, that's exactly what we're heading towards, isn't it? So let's see how that plays out. The last one I just want to really highlight is just a quick one because I was speaking to somebody in the game the other day, and we were talking about defenders. We were particularly talking about Harry Maguire and how unreliable he's become and things like that. And I said, "Oh, who would you say is the best English centre back in the game right now?" And he started talking about Max Kilman at Wolves, and I started thinking about it from an FPL point of view, and I was like, "This guy is like 4.5 million." Yeah. I obviously know of him, but I've never seriously considered him for my team. Wolves have a great clean sheet record. I think they've got Leicester at home this weekend. That's interesting because Leicester aren't scoring that many goals typically week by week. And actually, I started looking into it a bit deeper. And for the next 7 or 8 game weeks, it's quite a nice run that Wolves have got. And at a time when obviously they're trying to push for certainly European football, maybe even Champions League football if it went perfectly for them, it's built on a very solid base. And there might be some value to be had there. So I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, I'm liking that. In fact, that brings us to our next segment. We're going to be looking at Wolves in detail coming up next when we look at my eye test report. I'm loving the Kilman shout. Loving the Kilman shout. Like, I'm with you. Like, I was having a debate on Twitter a couple of weeks ago and just saying how poor Maguire was. I'm like, well, come on, who would you play? And like, there are centre backs that, given game time, would look like international centre backs. Tomori is one, I believe, and Kilman is another. So yeah, Kilman and Wolves are definitely someone I'm looking at when I've been watching games. Like, they play a very clear back three. And of course, for attacking returns, you're probably not going to get many from Kilman. You're not going to get many from Seiss, although he's probably a little bit better in the air. Yeah. Cody too. And you look at the wing backs and think, okay, these guys are cheap. Aït-Nouri, for example, I think is 4.4 million, but he'll rotate with Marcel at times. Semedo on the right will rotate with Gianni, who's going to be back from full fitness very soon. And you look at it and go, okay, if I want a nailed Wolves defender, I probably go safe, and Kilman probably is the standout. So you can spend 4.5 million and have a Wolves defender that you know will play 90 every single game. And what's really interesting about Wolves is they've been knocked out of the FA Cup, which means they will play in blank game week 30, when there might be 3 fixtures, there might be 4, there might be 5, but it's probably going to be 3 or 4 fixtures. So again, Wolves will cover you there. Again, in game week 33, there'll be more blanks due to the FA Cup. Well, Wolves will still play. So again, not only good fixtures, but no blanks either. So Wolves would be definitely someone I'd be looking at to bring in. And I always think their defence is better than their attack, Dean. Do you reckon?
Well, it is, yeah. I mean, you just got to look at Jimenez for that. He's been on a goal drought for 3 months, and he's finally scored at the weekend, which is a big result for them. I mean, but that's been Wolves' big problem, really, hasn't it? I mean, they've had a very good season. They've conceded very few goals, but they just haven't had that threat in attack. With Adama Traore gone as well now, like that takes another option out of the attack, but they'll still do well. They're so well set up. And obviously in midfield with Neves and Moutinho, they've still got that creative outlet. It's just coming from the centre a lot of time rather than from the flanks. But yeah, for me, Wolves have got a fantastic opportunity as well to make the most of a lot of uncertainty around that top 7. They've got the least pressure on them. They've got the clearest game plan, I'd say. I think there's a lot going for them. It's not very sexy to pick Wolves players, is it? And a lot of players in FPL veer away from it because of that. And to be honest, I probably have too. But it's only when you start thinking about these things, again, more logically, more clearly. And now that we're getting a better idea of how the season is going to pan out in terms of blanks, in terms of doubles, and in terms of form as well, I think it's becoming a lot more obvious to pick 1, maybe even 2 Wolves defenders.
Yeah, and so you're right about the sexy picks. Like, we often go for the glory in FPL. We want those high ceiling players. So when I bought a defender a couple of weeks ago, I went Luca Dean because I thought, yeah, I might get some clean sheets, but I will get tons of assists and goals. Well, Luca Dean's got me 1 point twice. If I'd gone boring and gone for a Wolves defender, you bank your 6s, and those 6s soon tick up. So I'm with you. Sometimes we need to be a little bit more boring.
Absolutely. Look, Luke C says so many have not gone with Wolves defence. Is it because they're not a reliable team in the past, like compared to Man City and Liverpool? And I mean, they are a reliable team, aren't they? I think this is the point that we need to hammer home. They are a reliable team, and Man United aren't reliable. Tottenham aren't reliable, but Wolves are reliable. They've literally gone through this season with a strong foundation. I wouldn't really be picking Jimenez yet because I need to see more from him, but even he might become a good asset going forward because he had a few other chances to score at the weekend.
Yeah, I think I've talked myself into that. If I sell Dallo, I was looking at Burnley defence, but I've already got Burnley defence covered. And actually, maybe I split the odds there and go Kilman. Yeah. They have, of course, got the double game week as well. So they play Leicester at home and then they're away to Arsenal. So, on paper, they're not 2 brilliant fixtures, but Wolves can keep clean sheets against anyone. I mean, they just shut Harry Kane and Son out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think... as I say, that in the run that they've got over 7 or 8 after Arsenal, I think West Ham is the only other traditionally tough team that they're going to have to face. And after that, you'd say it's a good chance of clean sheets there for them.
Yeah. All right. Next up, I've gone with, in terms of my eye test, this is a player, not a team. And this is Armando Broja. He has just been superb in the last couple of weeks. And we knew Southampton were getting a good young player here. He's been very good in the Chelsea academy for a long time. But the way he bullied Maguire last time out, the way he played against Spurs the time before that, he's just not scared of anyone. He's got real pace. He'll get chances because Southampton create chances. And he's got an absolute great run of fixtures. Like, on the FPL website, the fixture difficulty rating gives you like a colour and a number. Well, that all number 1s or 2s. Like, it's just a sea of green for the next 5-6 weeks. So game week 26 to 31, all green fixtures for Southampton, knowing they've just played City, United and Spurs. What do you think to Brozier, Dean? Because Southampton have already been linked with trying to buy him. I think they maybe even, there was talk that they were going to bid in January. I don't know if they did, but Chelsea would be very reluctant to sell. There'd be a very hefty price tag if they did, and I don't think they will, surely.
Well, they won't sell, no, because actually he's the best striker they've got at the moment on their books, probably. So it would make no sense to sell him. They should bring him back and sell Lukaku. Look, he's brilliant. He's obviously still young, so he's still got time to improve. But I think, obviously Chelsea were willing to let Tammy Abraham go. I think when you compare Tammy, there always seemed to be something that you just weren't convinced of, that he could stay at that top level. But with Brozier, he's got more assets to his game. I think that there are different things that he could do that mean that he will be a success in this league. I'd be very surprised if Chelsea sell him. I know they're going to bring him back in pre-season and assess the situation, then probably give him pre-season. But Southampton want him for a reason. And look, Southampton are so much improved at the moment. Hasenhüttl's such a smart boss. He clearly identified with Man United at the weekend that they would be strong for 45 minutes an hour, but that United don't like going backwards, and that we will make the most of that. And they do. And on the transition, Southampton were very quick, very fast to get in behind and break. And this kind of openings they made, you kind of expected Brozier to score. That's why I had him last week. As it was Che Adams. But I mean, he is an easy pick. And if you're wild carding right now, I think it's pretty easy pick, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I think so. Like, he's the best budget forward in the game, and I'm very excited as a Chelsea fan to hopefully see him in a blue shirt. Like, I don't want to get carried away and start comparing him to elite forwards, but I'm gonna. With Tammy Abraham, we were like, okay, there's always something missing, as you said, Dean. Like, he never looked like he was going to reach that elite level, even when he was slightly younger. Now, Brozier, of course, he's nowhere near a Haaland or a Vlahovic, but when you watch those players play, you watch Brozier play in terms of his movement and his physical attributes, you look at him and think, in a couple of years, could he be a Haaland or a Vlahovic? Well, he definitely looks like he's got that sort of pedigree that Tammy never had. Yeah. So big shout, I know, Dean, but he's obviously a long way off. Like, we've not seen him really score lots of goals. We don't quite know how good in front of goal he is at the top level, but he's got those attributes, right?
He certainly has. And I mean, the big thing that Chelsea will be wondering is, can we make another mistake here? Because I know that they always hoard players, but like, they've let a lot go that they really regretted and ended up either buying back or watching flourish elsewhere. And this could be one of those, couldn't it? You can see right now, given his first taste in the Premier League with Southampton on a regular basis, and he's absolutely loving it. And if he can do this at Southampton, who are a good team, imagine what he could do with a team like Chelsea, who are that next step up, maybe 2 steps up even. Like, I think he would really thrive on the kind of service he would get.
Yeah, good stuff. Right, that's the end of the eye test report. Coming up next, we are going to be doing a fun little game called Accept, Delay and Reject. Any ideas? Well, this is the FPL Immigration Office. Yeah, that's right. This isn't like dump, kiss, marry. Did you ever do that at school, Dean?
Yeah, I was dumped all the time, mate.
So we're going to be going accept, delay or reject. We are the FPL Immigration Officers. So we've got a couple of players. We've got 3 forwards, 3 midfielders and 3 defenders. We'll start with the forwards and we'll just move very quickly on these. And guys in the chat, we just want one word from you. Will you accept, delay or reject these players? Dean, I'm going to ask you first on Weghorst. Would you accept, delay or reject?
I would delay for now, to be honest, but that's mainly because he's got this niggle. I've got no real doubts about his pedigree and the fact he can score goals in this team. I just want to see this flag gone on him, because it would be a nightmare if you picked him and he didn't play. So delay for now. If that flag disappears, accept him.
Yeah, for me, it's delay until that press conference on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Sean Dyche, I think, is one of the good guys. There's some FPL managers you go, no, what you just don't believe what they say at all. But Sean Dyche usually sort of says it how it is. He doesn't play too many mind games. Edouard up next. What do you reckon, Dean?
Edouard, I'm rejecting him all day long, to be honest. Can you think any reason to argue a case for him at the immigration doors?
Only the double game week and the fixtures are all right, but we do not know if he's going to play. Vieira clearly wants to go. Some matches he wants to go big man in Mateta or Benteke, and others he'll go Edouard, but it's hard to kind of predict that. So yeah, for me, it's reject. And the next one, the next forward to complete our trio is one we've both got. Harry Kane.
Oh, I'll be honest. Like, if I didn't have Harry Kane in my team already, I wouldn't be picking him.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say reject, because this just doesn't feel like the same Harry Kane we've had for the last 4 years or whatever it's been. I'm not seeing the same confidence and belief in him. I'm going to have to reject him, which is sad because he's in my team.
Yeah, that is a tough one. I'm gonna go a little bit further and say delay, but only because I bought him in on wildcard 2 weeks ago, and I definitely saw something to make me beeline to Kane. And now I
Yeah.
look back, hindsight is a wonderful thing. I don't know what I saw, but I saw something to go, he's turned a corner here, and clearly hasn't.
Yeah, I say I'm probably going to ditch him this week and bring in Salah in midfield. So we'll see who regrets it, me or you.
Yeah, exactly that. The midfield might be a little bit easier because we're starting with Jared Bowen. This is a quick, easy one, I think.
Oh, it's absolutely accept, isn't it? Let him run through.
Yeah, smashing it. He can go where he wants. Raheem Sterling.
Honestly, I think Sterling could be one of the most wanted players in the final 3 months of FPL. I'm accepting Raheem Sterling, yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. In the chat, we had Nuclear Atom say, reject, don't come near me. I think he may have been talking about Edouard or Kane. Interesting one. What about Rafinha? I mean, it's a tough one because he was hooked at half time and everyone thought, hooked at half time in a game Leeds need to win, he must be injured. He picks up a lot of knocks. But post-match, Bielsa actually said, no, he was taken off for tactical reasons. You wanted to give Tyler Roberts more game time. What?
Yeah, absolutely. I would have to delay Rafinha for now because I'm not sure how this is playing out. I personally think he'll leave Leeds no matter what happens at the end of the season. I think if he's in the team and he's playing well, then he's going to earn his move to a bigger club. And if Leeds are taking him off for tactical reasons, well, he's the most exciting player, probably their best player. He's going to want to leave and they're going to end up selling him anyway. So, tough one for Rafinha. I would delay him because I'm not really sure what you're getting out. And I can see in the comments there, people saying delay and reject for Rafinha. One guy saying accept, but yeah, I'm not so sure.
Yeah, the double game week they've got is really, really tough as well. It's two top teams. They play Liverpool in game 2, and game 1 they play United. So maybe United you could see Leeds scoring, but I don't think they score against Liverpool at Anfield.
No, can't see
okay, there's our midfielder chat. Now the 3 defenders, one of which I've just bought. We'll start with Luca Dean. With so much promise, we know Gerrard wants attacking fullbacks. Gerrard's defence usually performs quite well, but the last couple of weeks they've been off the boil.
They have been off the boil, yeah, but I think that, Gerrard's comments already threatening basically the whole squad that their place is on the line if they don't keep it up. And I think this is how he's going to be as a manager throughout his career. I'd let him in, I'd say accept.
Yeah.
Accept, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to run with it as well because I saw enough in Gerrard's man management or tactical management to go, Dean's going to be a player. And I'm encouraged to see how attacking him and Matt Cash are. Like, they are definitely encouraged to bomb on. It's not your sort of Jose Mourinho fullbacks where they're not allowed to cross the halfway line.
Yeah.
Kyle Walker's suspended in the Champions League. I think he's got a 3-match ban, so he's going to be rested in the Champs. Does that mean he probably starts the Prem games? Maybe. He started at the weekend when Cancelo was rested. Would you accept, delay, or reject Kyle Walker? He's quite affordable. He's around 5.5, I think.
Yeah, for a City asset, he's not bad at all. I would still reject it just because I have to be wholly convinced about whether they're going to play and what their role is. And I don't know, Walker just doesn't tick enough boxes for me. And he never really has, to be honest. I've never utilised Kyle Walker in this game. I have to reject him. You got any more faith?
I'd go delay only. I'm keen to see how Zinchenko plays in the Champions. If Zinchenko's given the nod in the Champions League and does very well, then it makes me think, okay, he'll probably start quite a lot of league games second half of the season. But if Zinchenko has a nightmare or two, then I think we'll see Cancelo first choice left back, Walker first choice right back. So one to watch.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Next up, we've got a centre-back that just scored. And these are always in flavour. Some people will chase points. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with going Webster, but he's not going to score goals every week. So don't be blinded by the points. Brighton actually have been conceding a lot of sort of 1-goal games. They've been conceding the odd goal. Webster, accept, delay, reject. They've just had their double.
Yeah, look, I like him as a footballer, but not as an FPL asset. I'm saying reject.
Yeah, for me, I'd look elsewhere. I think if you're going to go that price band, you go to Wolves or you go Burnley, for me.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
This has been our first show, Dean. Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. It was good, wasn't it? It was good little chat there. A bit of rhythm we found as well. And thanks for everyone for getting involved as well. I'm still reading these comments down the side. People rejecting Walker. That makes me happy because it means I haven't made a complete error there. So, no, I've really enjoyed it, mate. And look, it's going to be hopefully the game will get a little bit easier from here. Like, as I say, COVID, the worst of it, hopefully gone. AFCON's gone.
Yeah.
Like, we're getting a bit more familiarity here in terms of what we're used to in scheduling. Yes, there'll be some strange game weeks and blanks, but we're used to that because it's coming towards the end of the season, and FA Cup, this is what it throws up. And it's all about now planning, which I'm typically not that good at, but you are. So I'm going to be listening to you very carefully, mate, about when these blanks are coming and who I should be on.
I look forward to that. We'll be probably discussing a bit of chip strategy on Friday because we're obviously going into a very big double game week. You can see the fixtures there on the right, and that's just half of them. They continue the fixtures into next Wednesday and Thursday, and we'll obviously be looking ahead at that. We'll probably be playing a little bit of Pep Roulette as well, and we'll have a little bit of intel from you, Dean, hopefully on that one.
Yep.
There's a few injuries at City as well, and of course we would have seen them in Champions League. So don't forget, guys, every Monday, 7 p.m. UK time, this show. But then this is obviously the review of the weekend and a bit of forward planning. But then we'll also be previewing the game week ahead every Friday at 7. So dates for your diary, every Monday at 7, every Friday at 7. We'll be here for that. So thank you very much for watching. Follow Dean on social. Follow me on social. And guys, if you're not already liking and subscribing to this channel, please do. And you'll get a little notification every time we're on. Dean, thank you very much for your time, dude.
Thank you, mate. That was very good. And let's hope that we can both make some progress as this show goes on.
Good stuff. Take care, guys, and we'll see you on Friday.